Rabotai, Rosh Chodesh Tov. We started speaking about the bracha of Ahavat Olam, that it's able to exempt the blessing of Birkot Torah. Right? We said that if you learned immediately right after the tefillah, it's able to exempt the Birkot Torah. If that is the case, Rabotai, why do we even have to say Birkot Torah today? We do say Birkot Torah in the morning before we even get to Ahavat Olam. So the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Mem Zayin in Halacha Chet states, V'yesh listapek. He says there is a doubt. Im sagi bekorei kri shema samuch la miyad b'li hefsek. There is a doubt, Rabotai, if a person said Ahavat Olam and then he recited Kri Shema right immediately right after it, without any interruption, if that's considered to be good enough for him to be able to use that as words of Torah. Why is that, Rabotai? Why can't we use the words of Shema as words of Torah? So the Mishnah Berurah Sivkat Yuzayin states, the Yesh Shlomar, because one can say, the Kriya Shema havi rak divre tefillah. When we're saying Shema, when we're accepting Ol Malchut Shamayim, it's only like words of tefillah. Because since you're not saying the Shema for the sake of learning Torah. However, Rabotai, he says, what happens if a person recited the Kriya Shema after this time of Kriya Shema? We know that there are two times that a person has to be careful to be able to say the Kriya Shema prior to then, which is the Zman of Magen Avraham and the Gaon of Vilna. Since Kriya Shema is Midoret, we want to try to be careful and fulfill the Zman of Magen Avraham. But let's say a person didn't get a chance to say it at the time of the Magen Avraham or even the time of the Gram. Now you're saying it already after the third hour in the day. Over there we're going to tell you, if you said the Ahavat Olam and then you said the Shema, we're going to say that's going to count for you as words of Torah. Nevertheless, the Shulchan Aruch says, since we have this whole complication, if Shema is going to be able to help you for Ahavat Olam or not, he says, V'lachen, therefore he says, Yesh lizaher levarech birkot Torah kodem Ahavat Olam. A person has to be careful and to bless Birkot Torah prior to saying Ahavat Olam. But once, Rabotai, you say Ahavat Olam, you put yourself into this whole problem that now you cannot go back and say Birkot Torah. Rabotai, there is a fascinating Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin in Daf Ayin Amur Aleph, where there was a whole thing that went on. There was a whole machloki between Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Nachman. Rav Yehuda was summoned to Din, to Rav Nachman. So Rav Yehuda wants to Rav Nachman, who is he to summon him? So they were going back and forth at it. So Rav Nachman already didn't know what to do. He didn't want to look chas v'shalom like an Amma Aretz. He didn't want to look like somebody who does not know Torah. So he already started appeasing Rabbi Yehuda in different ways. Comes the Gemara, Rabotai, the Gemara says something very fascinating, which a lot of us today have a problem with. Because, we speak about mixed eating, mixed dancing, and all of these things. Today we're going to speak about how in the world do you have men that speak to women today? Who gave permission to a guy to speak to another girl? You see a lot of times in the weddings or in these shmogs bar, right? You have people, the men, they walk around, somehow their wife is next to them and they're speaking to other women, asking them how their day is, what happened, where did they go, and so to vice versa, and the woman speaking to the men. Who gave Rabotai permission to a woman and a man that are not married to one another to go ahead and have a conversation? Rabotai, listen what the Gemara says. Amar le, Rav Nachman said to Rav Yehuda, Taiti donag tashkinan. He said, let my daughter, his daughter's name was Donag. He said, listen, let's take everything easy. Let's not have this whole problem back and forth. Let my daughter bring for us something to drink and let's have a drink. Amar le. So what Rav Yehuda say to Rav Nachman? Hachi Amar Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said, Rabotai. Ein mishtamshim bi'isha. You're not allowed to use a woman for your own benefit. You can't ask a woman to do something on your behalf. We'll see why, Rabotai. We'll see all of these reasons why. So Rav Nachman said to Rav Yehuda, Ketanahi, she's a minor. She's underage. Says Rabbi Yehuda to Rav Nachman, Bifirish Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said openly, En mishtamshim be'isha kalal, ben gedola ben ketana. You're not allowed to use a woman for your own advantage, whether she's a minor, whether she's an adult. It's asur. So Rav Nachman, he doesn't know what to do now. He's lost. So he says to Rav Yehuda, Najele mar shama lilaita. He says, let the master send hello to my wife. Let him go say hi to my wife. He doesn't know how to get rid of Rav Yehuda. Amar, so what does Rav Yehuda say back to Rav Nachman? Hachi Amar Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said. Rabotai, listen to this very carefully. Kol be'isha erva. A voice of a woman is an erva. It's nakedness that when she speaks, it's able to arouse you to think other things. Rabotai, you don't believe it? Try it. Chas v'shalom. This is why when you have women speaking today, it became the new custom. Abraham, it became the new custom today. Women started becoming the new rabbis, public speakers. I don't mind if they give shurim only to women. Woman to woman is no problem. But since when, Rabotai, do you have women giving also shurim to men and women? Do you have any idea that when a public speaker speaks, he has to do the best he can to try to make sure that he gives the utmost effect on the people? So what is she going to do? She's going to stand the best way, with the proper posture. She's going to make sure that she sounds very good, smells very good, looks very beautiful. And what do you tell me? He's not going to arouse the guys that are watching her? That is a very big problem. Kol be'isha erva. The Shulchan Aruch goes on to say, it goes on singing. I'm not going to get into all of these halachot. There's a whole thing that goes back and forth. But what the Gemara is right now saying, Kol be'isha erva. So Rav Yehuda did not want to even go say hello to Rav Nachman's wife. Says Rav Nachman to Rav Yehuda, I don't get it. Fine, you don't want to go. Okay, send it. Efshar al yidei shaliach. So send it through a messenger. Rabotai Amar le. Again, Rav Yehuda said to Rav Nachman, Hachi Amar Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said. Rabotai, listen how serious this gets. En sha'olim b'shalom isha ali. En sha'olim b'shalom isha. You're not allowed to ask the welfare of another woman. Rabotai, what is Rashi say? What is the problem? What's going to really happen if I'm going to ask you, how's your wife doing? Or send your wife from regards from the rabbi. What's already going to happen? Says Rashi, Shema mitoch she'ela shalom. Maybe because of you asking about her well-being. What do you think is going to happen? You think that's all? That's where it stops? Yur gelim ze im ze. Rabotai, they're going to accustom to one another. Al yidei shulacham, through the messenger. V'yavohu l'idei chiba. What's going to happen, Rabotai? They're going to come to dearness, affectionate. They're going to build a relationship. Gintin, you know what happens when women and men build a relationship? Huh? You don't know what happens. Thank God you don't know what happens. You guys probably know, don't want to say. Rabotai, do you have any idea how wrong this is today that you have men and women that are not married to one another? They converse? What do you call a platonic relationship? I don't even know what you call that. It is a very big problem, Rabotai, when a person sends, if a guy's going to send somebody else's wife, tell her I send hello. Tell her I asked about her. What do you think she's thinking? Or the other way around, what do you think she's thinking? He cares about me more than my husband. Whatever it's going to be. Rabotai, eventually what's going to happen, Gindan, they're going to get accustomed to one another. Eventually they're going to divorce the husband and the wife, and they're going to become with each other. They're going to do Averis, Chas v'Shalom. Rabotai, these are very big problems. I'm not speaking about right now sitting together. Do you know on the meal, what do you call it? What do you call this thing? When you guys are having this, Nashma, when you're sitting together, correct? You have men and women, they start, forget about speaking now. They start doing l'chaim with another woman. Who gave you permission to do l'chaim with another woman? Why? She's your wife? Rabotai, it shows affectionate. It shows affection. It's a very big problem. These are Yisurim. You're not allowed to do this. So you know what Rav Nachman said to Rav Yehuda? So send it through me. He said, what? I don't understand. Be sure he doesn't know how to come out of this whole situation. He said, so Rav Yehuda said back to Rav Nachman, Hachi Amar Shmuel, En Sho'olim B'Shalom Isha Klal. You're not allowed to ask about a woman's well-being. Why do you care how she's doing? I don't understand. Rabbi John, объясни мне, Rabbi John, как так понять? No, Rabotai, how is that possible, Rabotai? How is it possible that when it comes, Rabotai, we don't speak to our wives like that. You see men sometimes after Shabbat or regular days. You see them, Rabotai, I'm not judging nobody, I don't care about you. Do what you have to do. You see them, Rabotai, speaking to a woman. You go into the store, they're speaking. You come out of the store 15 minutes later, they're still speaking. You drive by later to go to the mikveh, they're still speaking. Come on, how much can you speak to already? Yeah? And his wife says, Rabbi, my husband never communicates with me. He doesn't know how to communicate. Oh, he knows how to communicate. Maybe not with you, but he knows how to communicate. I've seen him communicate with other women. Rabotai. Rabbi said, why is this important? Listen to this very carefully. Now that's the game. I wanted you to know this because we're going to read this. So how do you communicate today at all? What do we do, Rabotai? Huh? Rabotai, this is not only the problem with us asking women how they're doing. There's another problem over here, Avrumi. There's another problem over here when they start speaking to men, the way they speak to men, Misha. How do they say hello? How do they say thank you? I'm not saying they shouldn't be happy or, they have to have their recheres, but everything has to be done in a modest fashion. What do they do today, Ilan? What they do when they walk? They put on a nice smile, correct? In the house, she ain't putting on lipstick for you, correct? But outside some house, when she goes to the store, she's gonna get the dress the best way, which is fine. I don't care. Let her do whatever. That's her problem. Puts on lipstick, and then when she sees the guy, hello, how are you? Rabotai, do you know what a smile of a woman can do to a guy? Do you have any idea? Rabotai, I'm going to tell you a true story. Misha, слушай, Misha. Rabotai, listen to the story. I know a person, he lived next to his best friend, right? Neighbors in the building. His wife, Rabotai, never smiled at him. Every morning she woke up with complaints. I don't know, always with problems. Somehow, every time he would come out, somehow the neighbor, his friend's wife, somehow she would find a way to come out at the same time with him. How's it possible? I don't like. They knew exactly when to both come out. So what happens, Elon, when you have to travel to the city, you have to use the same train station, correct? Baruch Hashem. So he would come out, she would come out, and she was going, good morning, how are you? But then the guy's like to himself, all my life, all I want is my wife to smile. Just one smile. And every day she gives me a smile. Like this, Rabotai continued for almost a year. You know what happened in the end? What do you think happened in the end? What do you think? Rabotai, this couple got divorced. And he got with her. Because they did something they were not supposed to do prior to the divorce. And then they got the whole thing fell apart. From what happened? What did she do wrong? One smile, Rabotai, one smile. This is why, Rabotai, we don't allow, right? If you have secretaries and you have all these things in offices, you can't assistants, all of these things, huh? All of these things, Rabotai, it's a very big problem. It is a lot of people have fallen because of this. We have to say it's not allowed. Rabotai, there's another problem with this, Gindan. There's another problem. You know why? Because the Shulchan Aruch and Ezra and Simcha V'Alev and Halakha Vav brings this down as a halakha. So what do we do, Rabotai? So what do you do? I walk in the store. What do you think? Your wives don't see me. They don't say hi to me. Of course they say hi to me. They come. They say, Rabbi, how are you? And that's it. So what do we do, Rabotai? What should we do halachically? Rabotai, I'll tell you like this. He says over here like this. Now we can understand what he's going to say over here. He says like this. Ein sholim b'sholom isha klal. You're not allowed to ask about a woman's well-being. You're not. It's not your business how she's doing or not. You know, you have today, Ilan, today you have, Baruch Hashem, you have men that became therapists. Somehow they know how to solve a problem. Huh? Somehow they became therapists. And it's not like your problem was ubrat. My husband is like this. My husband, oh, I feel so bad for your husband's such a retard. Oh, only if you know what kind of beautiful. Who does this, Rabotai? Who does this? Do you know what Rabbeinu Mutzav Shlita says? You're not going to believe this, Ilan. You can argue all you want. You know what he says? Ata mukhan? Mukhan me'echuz? He says, never ever send your wife to a rabbi's lecture where it's only women. Never ever. You know why he says? What do you think, the rabbis, the malachim, angels? If it's only woman, what do you think? If chas v'sham, your wife is beautiful, if he puts her eyes on her, he's going to now make everything, oh, shalom bayit, you got to understand your wife. You got to respect your wife. You got to be there for her. She's like, wow, my husband doesn't do anything like this. He's going to divorce and then he's going to marry her. Do you know that? You know how many cases this was brought up? You have any idea? She wants to listen. Let her listen on her Torah anytime. Biyachad. Let her listen on Torah. I don't care. She wants to go, let her go to where there's men and women, separate. Right? They have upstairs or whatever it is. But not only single out, only women. I could never understand this, Misha. I was one time in the synagogue. I was teaching always Torah outside. Torah is always like the Torah outside in the, what do you call it, before you come to, in the hallway. What, they have a nice lobby, it was nice. So I had 15, 20 guys learning Torah. And they had over there 3 o'clock, Yilan, Shalom Bayit classes. Takshiv. The woman alone, when they would just pass through the hallway into the synagogue, from their perfume alone, you could already have bad thoughts. But somehow the Kavod Arav Shlita, I don't even know, but Nikako Rabbi, he was standing on a bima, you know what's the bima? You know those platforms. And the women were below, because and they're sitting down. What's a 3D view, a bird's eye view. And he was able to teach them. I tell you right now, when the women were coming in, don't tell me, Rabotai, they came in nightgowns and like Baba Sali's wife. They came Natsinis. And especially when everything's open over here. So imagine him teaching Torah, with such a view looking down. Rabotai, that's a problem. It's asur to teach a woman Torah if she's in modest. If her hair is uncovered, you're not allowed to teach her Torah like that. Zagadisi da drudik, здравствуйте, идемте, друзья. Rabotai, so what do we do? So he says over here, V'lachen, and therefore, Adam shepogesh et shechinato baruchav. If a person meets his neighbor, you don't know, Rabotai, you're next to a neighbor in the street, in lo lomar lo mashlomech. Do not ask her about her. Do not tell her, how are you doing? Asur lagid kachilan. Asur. Ma yesh lecha?
What if it's harmless?
That's something else. We'll see right now. That's something else. If you just how are you, just to get rid of her, you're not really there. Correct. Right, we're going to see. That's what we're going to see right now. Right now, we're going to see. Why? Rabotai, kivin shal yidei ze yuchlim legiya lidei kiru v'chiba. Because through this, you're going to be able to come to closeness and dearness. So what should he do? Not to say shalom is also going to be bad. Ela yomar la, rather he should say to her, Beloshin Rabim, Haram, Beloshin Rabim. Plural, not singular. Don't single her out. Mashal Mechem, meaning V'hakawana l'chol ha'mishpacha. How is everyone doing? Rabbi John, I'm learning in Rabbi John. Not how are you doing? Don't single her out. However, he says, Ulam koze davka l'isha zara she'ena makira. All this, what we just said, is to a woman who you don't know. Aval imhu karov shala. But what happens if he's related to her? Or he was a guest in the house a few times. Even though the halakha says it's not good because we're afraid, but because of proper conduct and proper etiquette, we're going to tell you, if you're hosted by that woman and by that husband, we're going to tell you what, ask her how she's doing. We're not telling you to get into a conversation with her and start speaking to her about her lifestyle. Just say, how are you? And that's it. That you're allowed to say. Because you got some benefit from her. She fed you. Nevertheless, he says, Adif yoter shegam be'oven kazeh yish'al ota beloshon rabim ma shalomechem v'lo ma shalomech. Same thing over here, Rabotai. Even though you're allowed to, Rabotai, mishum derech eretz, to go and ask her, how are you doing? Nevertheless, it's better to say, how is everyone doing, Rabotai? There's many more halachot that go inside this. When it comes to arayot, when it comes to forbidden women that we're not allowed to be with, the further we stay away from them, is there, Avram, bring me Evan Hazer. Give me the I just want to read halakha, just came to my mind. I want to show you what the Shulchan Aruch says. Evan Hazer, the Simon Chav Aleph, halakha Aleph. You have it? Rabotai, I want to show you when it comes to arayot, how one has to distance himself from it as much as possible. The less communication you're going to have with her, the better it's going to be for you. You guys have to understand, why do we do this, Rabotai? Why do we do this? Because we want you to be able to give that attention to your wife and not to any other woman? Why should another woman steal your attention from your wife? Rabotai, the Shulchan Aruch in Even HaEzer says, Tzarich Adam litrachek mehanashim me'od me'od. A person has to distance himself from women very, very much, Rabotai. Rabotai, if you look into the Nosekelim, into the Achronim, they discuss over here, the Beis Shmuel says, what happened over here out of all the... why you don't tell me I have to keep Shabbat me'od me'od? You know why, Rabotai? Once you fall into the sin of Arayot, it's very hard to come out. Very hard to come out. That's why Rabotai goes on over here and he says, distance yourself from women as much as possible. Baruch Adonai L'Olam. Amen. Amen.